Claude knows that I'm Finnish, and it also knows that I'm building an AI company. It knows my writing style well enough that if I give it a prompt, it can produce text that looks and sounds quite a lot like me. Not perfectly, but in a uncanny valley kind of way, there is a resemblance. When I look at text that Claude produces, if I ask it to produce text on my behalf, the text isn't perfect, but close enough to be unsettling. I like Claude, it's a great product, and I probably use it on a daily basis. And because of that, piece by piece, conversation by conversation, it started to form a picture of me. It assembled something. Not me, but not me either. If you use ChatGPT or Claude on any regular basis, this same thing is happening to you as a part of those conversations. There's a Black Mirror episode called White Christmas. In that episode, John Hamm's character, very bleak as usual, trains AI clones to become personal assistants for people. The clones are fully conscious copies. They are aware of their existence. They're also aware that they've been put into a digital environment. They didn't consent to this. They don't want to be there, which is a big part of the plotline of this episode. Rather, they're broken into subservience to do the bidding that they're asked to. It is not a feel-good story, let's put it this way. However, Black Mirror, well, never is. That's the point of the show. But the part that struck with me from that episode is how that clone was created. They're not built from scratch. They're extracted. Of course, in this Black Mirror episode, it's more of a surgical medical procedure than anything else. But the key word here is extraction. There's no thought in that process of what that means for a digital clone. And of course, it begs the question of what does our digital identity mean and where do we draw the line between a clone and the real person? Now, that's all sci-fi and was very much sci-fi in 2014 when the episode came out. Some parts of that don't feel quite as sci-fi anymore. I heard the term digital twin some years back, I can't quite remember when, and it felt very much like PR hype, honestly. I used to work at this company called Unity. A lot of you may have heard of it. It makes a game engine, relatively big. It's a publicly listed company. And when digital twins and metaverses and things like that were still the hype, I do remember seeing PR from them as well that they were building digital twins of cities. I think it was the city of Orlando that they partnered with to create a complete digital representation of the city using Unity. Especially a few years back, digital twins felt like something that was a solution looking for a real problem, at least at the scale that they were discussed on. Don't get me wrong, there are very legitimate use cases for digital twins, especially when we're trying to train models that need to interact with the real world. Case in point, you would rather have a model training for a self-driving vehicle to happen in a virtual world, in a digital twin world, rather than out there in the streets. While companies are spending millions trying to create digital twins out there through expensive projects, and mostly failing to create true business outcomes, the actual digital twinning, so to say, started happening quietly in the background. Not through any grand initiative, through everyday tool usage. Every Slack message you send carries your communication patterns. Every email reflects your communication styles. What do you prioritize? What do you don't? Who do you talk to? Every prompt you feed an AI system tells you what you think, want to know, learn, what you value. Your project management tool knows your decision-making patterns, how you convey information to other people and teams. Your calendar knows how your life is structured. All of these things create a digital footprint of you in all of these systems when you use them. All of that information is stored, logged, processed. Nobody generally opted into this. There was no consent form. It's just accumulating. Any single data point is trivial. Claude knowing that I'm Finnish isn't a very compelling thing for it to know yet. Doesn't tell much about me as a real person. However, because I do like Claude as a tool, every single day it accumulates more data of me and who I am. LLMs are trained on human communications specifically. They can write like a human. I mean, we've all seen it. It looks very real. Your specific AI tools that you use to get your job done, they are designed to act like you. There's a meaningful difference between a model that can produce professional sounding text and a system that can create text that sounds like you if your teammates would read it. At which point does this aggregate data, these remnants of your digital interactions, start to form something that could be akin to a digital copy of you? Of course, it's not binary. There's no clear threshold where something becomes a copy of you, something becomes a digital personality. And herein lies the problem. These data points feel so meaningless. Why would we care about a single Slack message? Why would we care about an AI system training itself on a few emails here and there? But because of that as well, it's hard to draw the line of where we would have to step in and say like, hey, should we be talking about it? Should we be thinking about it? Should we be legislating on this topic? Because every individual piece here feels harmless, but the whole of that data might no longer be. So what are the memories that ChatGPT and Claude have of us, if not remnants of our digital identity? Partial and fragmented for sure, like we all see this happening, but every single day it does become more of a whole picture. Let's follow this to the uncomfortable logical conclusion. If the data collected by these systems starts to form a digital representation of you, even if just in the professional context, who owns that digital identity? If you leave a job where you've used AI extensively, and the company has been, because of that, able to build a digital representation of your professional self, do they still get to keep that? Does it continue to work on your projects for them, even if you, the original, are no longer there? And I don't think this is very hypothetical for much longer. Companies won't need to build synthetic employees from scratch. They'll assemble them, bring them together from all the bits and pieces of data we've provided to them. Not because they set out to clone anyone, but because we are already giving them the data. It's just sitting out there spread across multiple different SaaS tools, emails, Slack communications, Google Meet recordings, and things like that. It is there waiting to be synthesized. You might be contributing to the birth of the digital replacement of you right now, one Slack message at a time. The permanent underclass of displaced workers narrative, which goes around relatively rampant on some parts of the social media bubbles that I frequent, isn't quite the narrative I tend to subscribe to. I think it's a much too bleak vision of the future, but I'd be lying if I'd be saying that there isn't a part of me that is decently nervous about where all of this is headed to. Knowledge work is primarily communication, judgment, all of these things related to those. Those are also the ones that we can probably easiest replace with digital copies of ourselves. And I'm not talking about something 5 years down the road. I'm talking about something that could feel within our grasp today. We tend to frame AI cloning as a future problem, something we'll deal with once the technology gets better, a almost philosophical thought exercise at most. But we don't have to reach Black Mirror level technology for big parts of that to come to true, especially in the workplace. We haven't reached artificial general intelligence, but that doesn't mean the technology isn't starting to be good enough to pull this off. If you are being cloned by AI right now, would you even know?